Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Mid Morning Talk with Najma Kota. On this morning's profile interview, we have our very special guest, Professor Carol Ann Benn. She is wonderfully busy and hard to pin down. The breast disease expert is rather busy healing women, running a foundation and a home, teaching and saving stray animals, among other things. I do know that when our interview was advertised, lots and lots of people have acknowledged the fact that they're really happy that they can get to know Professor Carol Benn. And this is the objective of today's interview. And what I really like about your approach, as we all know, is that you make yourself very reachable. And today, on that level, we will get in touch with Carol, as she'd like to be known. Welcome and good morning to the program.
Thank you very much. The privilege is absolutely mine. Thank you so much for having me on.
Right. So when we say we want to get to know Professor Carol Benn, where did it all start?
So I was a non-rotating registrar. I always wanted to do medicine. I'm not the smartest at maths, so I had to work really hard, and I think that's not a bad thing. Hard work is excellent. I think people getting into medicine today, it's changed a lot in that they really look at the person and not so much as it's about EQ as well as IQ. I think that's super important for youngsters to know that they must follow their dreams. So being a non-rotating registrar, I didn't go through the white hospitals, for want of a better word. And when it came to my exams, I didn't have any exposure to breast disease because we didn't see it at Chris Hani Barrow. So I got hold of a very old doctor, what a gentleman, who taught me. And I said to him, if you ever need help, because as you know, and it's your faith, if we give forward, you help, etc. So I said to him, please call me. And he actually fell down the stairs at Joburg Gen. So I went to run the clinic, and it appalled me more than the trauma I was seeing at Barra. Women were lined up. It was a patriarchal factory of people not talking to people and just taking off breasts. And I was just horrified by this. So I actually spoke to a lot of the pharmaceuticals, got funding, trained internationally in bits, and set up a unit at Barra. When I first started, we had very few patients, 2 patients, for example. And I went out with one of my first patients, Louisa, into Soweto. And by just creating an awareness and demystifying issues around who gets cancer, we were eventually getting up to 150 people in our clinic per week. I then wanted to set up a breast unit at Chris Hani Barrow, but the head didn't feel that there was a need. He felt that this was something general surgeons should do, and I felt strongly that it wasn't. So I moved under National Health to Helen Joseph. There wasn't a clinic there. I built a massive clinic and also set up massive foundations. So I've done that over the last 30 years. Then, so I've managed to manage, particularly on the government side, my clinics without even waiting times, even during COVID. During COVID, we opened up the Mill Park, the breast center here, to all patients, making sure that people could access care, because there was a lot of fear around, going into hospitals. And
Yes.
post that, I've really battled to ensure equitable service because of and for want of a better word, I think government is regionalized where people can go for treatment. I've had restrictions of which patients I could see, failures on equipment, and problems with actually bringing equipment from private into government. So I've subsequently resigned from Helen Joseph. The clinic is now run under a junior consultant there. We are seeing all government patients off-site. We have amazing people trying to set up, because for me, whether you are on a medical aid or non-medical aid, you're entitled to good health care. It's a human rights issue, and we want people to be able to not say, well, I can't go there because I don't live there, or I can't get that treatment, or I can't have a breast saving operation. we really want to push for good health care and holistic health care, because picking up cancers early and ensuring that we navigate people and we talk to people and we don't practice. I'm a very non vertical medicine where the doctor turns around and says, I'm the doctor, you must do A, B, and C. I always say,
Got it.
no, go for a second opinion. It is your body, not the doctor's. Explore your options. Ensure your management is in a multidisciplinary team. Make very, very sure that you understand the cost. So, for example, if you have a mammogram and ultrasound and someone says you need a biopsy, ask what the cost is. That's part of consent. So don't have a biopsy which is on a bit of non-cancerous breast tissue and land up with costs of 14,000 Rand that you have to pay for or pay cash for. That is not right. So we want good and safe healthcare, and we want multidisciplinary care. So you don't want to rush into a surgeon who's just going to say, chop your breast off. Breast cancer doesn't jump from one breast to another. You don't need to take both breasts off. It's not an emergency. If cancer was an emergency, you definitely shouldn't be starting with a surgeon. You should be starting with oncology. But even today, there's more personalized oncology treatment, targeted treatments. So we want people to participate in their health. It's their bodies. Know your norm. Check your breasts. Ask questions. Find out. Get copies of your reports. Make sure they explain to you. Make sure today not all ladies need to even have surgery with breast cancer. We have some ladies we can freeze cancers. So treatments are changing all the time. I had a meeting 10 days ago in Bordeaux, and the whole concept around the meeting is our treatments are getting smaller, more personalized, and more innovative. And we need to make sure that our patients know about it.
Right. So from what I'm hearing, your focus has been mainly on making treatment accessible. The
Yes.
passion for your profession comes out very strongly in that. And like you said, it's a human rights issue. So I think that's been one of your fortes that has, in fact, just stood out as as a wonderful practitioner, if you like. And I know there are many others like yourself as well. But I think your passion has led to many people talking about you almost synonymous to breast cancer, breast care, etc. So when you talk about knowledge and awareness, there is that dreaded word, the C word, as we would commonly mention. When you talk about treatment, accessibility to treatment, the improvements, the technology, the whole science of it all, that's constantly being researched and improvised on, is that type of information accessible to the general public?
Well, it definitely should be, and that's why programs such as yours are so critically important. It's critically important that people understand that the word cancer is a frightening word. What happens is cells undergo cell divisions. They can have little mutations on them. They can have 7 or 8 mutations to be a little bit abnormal and be killed by your body's defense mechanisms. But if you're having 70 to 80 hits on them, they turn into cancer cells. And we're often under the misconception that people have risks for cancer. So 65% of people who get breast cancer have no identifiable risks, 25% have family history on father or mother's side, and less than 10% of single gene abnormalities. So the awareness, I always say the raw like the lion. Make sure people are aware and where to go. The leopard is access. It's very hard to work out where to access healthcare services. And this is where people must take their time. Go for second opinions, understand public and private. We're on the cusp of revolutionizing people who are on low medical schemes and people who don't have access to medical schemes, revolutionizing care in a holistic way where we're not reliant on minor hiccups in the treatment protocol. So you want to take that time to work out where you go, what your options are, listen to different people. And yes, that information should be out there for the public. I write significantly, and my writing is out there. So you're welcome to it. You can convert it. I encourage people like yourselves. We can go over little bits, and you can run small YouTubes through your station on awareness in so that people understand and know and take away fear. It's very, very important, the
Correct.
information that the media can put out there. And then to understand that treatments have changed so significantly. We have little target treatments that are oral treatment. Not everyone needs chemo. We can give radiation in theater. We can freeze cancers. We can do smaller procedures. We don't have to necessarily start with surgery. So this is why we want people to be encouraged to be navigated through the system by navigators and not by doctors, by making sure that their treatment plans are discussed in a multidisciplinary environment, and that's fed back to them, that they take time with the important steps of going and participating in their treatment plan. This is all very, very important.
Carol, what I've noticed is when a patient is diagnosed with cancer, there's obviously an increased amount of anxiety just so they can get treatment going as soon as possible,
Yeah.
because you want this cancer out, and that's the first thing. And that's where I think you feel so strongly about getting treatment as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But there's always the system that one needs to go through. In any way, can we speed up that process for the patient so there's less of an anxiety?
Okay, so I think understanding the anxiety is very important, but realizing once you find a cancer, it's probably been there for at least 6 months minimum, if not much longer than that. So I have a very nice a YouTube called The Umbrella of Care, which explains why we treat different cancers differently, and I can happily to send that forward to you, and you can attach that. So yes, the gut thing is take it out immediately, but some cancers we should not start with operating first, because that actually jeopardizes someone's survival. So whereas your gut is get rid of it like a spider on your shoulder as quickly as possible, what you must realize is once you've got a cancer, that cancer's probably been there for a minimum of 6 months, if not longer. So taking a couple of days or a week or two, so on average, let's say you needed chemo to start, it would take 2 to 3 weeks for that authorization to come through. So we presented a very nice paper where we actually got an international award on what I call time to treatment. So we have the shortest time to treatment in the world. So someone is seen, counseled within 2 days. We have a plan within 4 days. So that is important. So at least you understand what the plan is. Then once you've got a plan, which is a journey, we can then fine-tune aspects of that journey. But remember also that multidisciplinary, that discussion to make sure, because there may not be one journey for each person. There may be more than one. So you want people to participate and to ask questions.
So what about yourself, Carol?
Yes.
If we can go back to, the information that you're sharing with us is vital, and since it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but when we talk about Carol and getting to know Carol, then tell us a little bit about your background, your life, what led up to you choosing to do medicine.
So I think I always wanted to do medicine from early on. I can't really explain why. I was one of those people who was saving little animals and wanting to understand how bits and things work. But I was acutely aware my strength was in writing and people and journalism. And I was, like I said, I had to work really hard to get in. So I come from a different base as a lot of people who come in. Look, I got really nice marks, but I understand the concept of hard work. I really, really do. And I think that stands you in good stead. Okay. So no easy journey.
Right.
And a little bit about me. So I'm quite an anxious person. I worry about things. So that's why all my patients, government or private, have access to my phone. You can WhatsApp me because I'm anxious and I need to know that people are safe. Okay. I'm an absolute dedicated workaholic. I started about 5 in the morning. I often go until 11 at night. I'm a bit of an insomniac, but I've been insomniac since I was born. I think I was that child that my mom would go, oh, thank God she's going back to school. And the teachers would go, oh, grateful to send her home for the holidays. So I'm inherently quite a busy person. I can be quite exhausting. I am because I could say I maybe place demands on the people around me. I hope I'm not unreasonable, but I do expect people to do things passionately with love and care and dedication. And I must say, a lot of my team at Helen Joseph were exactly like that. That's why it was so hard for me to leave. So I will always step outside of the box to find a solution. I don't. I'm quite. I think I've got My husband always says people have a strong moral compass or not. I'm very much Hippocratic Oath, moral compass, do no further harm. When I first set up multidisciplinary units almost over 20 years ago, there was a couple of nasty comments by people saying, oh, she wants a team to discuss you because she's too scared to make decisions on her own. Absolutely.
Oops. Right,
Absolutely. You know what? I will
right,
own it. I will
right.
own that I do not, when it comes to someone's body or their health, I fully appreciate the concept. I have got no ego when it comes to patients. You look, you find, you research, you find the best options for looking after people. It's their body. You take it seriously. You do no further harm. So I'm obsessive. I'm a little bit OCD. I like all my little, so I collect little bathroom ducks. So I always say I like my ducks in a row, and I'm not quite sure if that's because I'm anxious and obsessive or both. I think that probably makes me really good with my patients. I hope I have an amazing, amazing husband and amazing kids. I always think they're normal and not in therapy because I work so hard. Um, I love them all dearly. I love that they love and appreciate me for me, and they've allowed me to be me. And I think that's an important part of relationships. It's
Sure.
about communication, and whether it be with a partner, whether it be with a child, whether it be with a patient, it's about listening, and it's about this acceptance. I don't think the word should be forgiveness, but acceptance of people who they are. We should stop trying to change people, and we need to listen to them and hear them. That for me is very important, be it patients, partners, or kids. So I'm not a very strong disciplinarian, not with my children. The animals don't listen to me at home, not with my staff, and neither across the board with anything, because it's just not really my style of at all. It doesn't sit well with me to strict and discipline. I like people to push boundaries. So I'm quite a hashtagger in terms of fees must fall, and you must question things, because if you don't question things, you remain static. So by doing that, we can only make for a better world. We must ask ourselves why and what do we do. I'm not saying that we must be rule breakers, but we must question, because questioning things improves things. So medicine would be static if people didn't question and say, are there better ways? So we learned a lot of amazing things in COVID. We learned how to be more digital. I think doctors became more patient aware, because suddenly people weren't coming in. So now you have to realize it's about the patient, not about the doctor. And I like that. I like the fact that medicine should be a service profession. People sometimes spend more time choosing their car than they do choosing their doctor. That for me is quite sad. We mustn't put anyone on pedestals. Definitely not your doctor, but no one. That's why I always say, call me Carol. And let's be as down to earth and as real as possible. Let's also understand that no one's perfect, not one of us on the planet.
Right.
And we must always remember that to our patients, because we often see this guilt around, why did I get a cancer? It's nothing you've done wrong. These things happen, and we're going to move forward one step at a time. And I think that's important that we address that with people.
And patients, especially when it comes to cancer, believe they're placing their life in your hands. And that's a huge responsibility.
Absolutely. That's why you work as a team. You don't stand on the pedestal. You put your ego at the door and you question and work together to do what's best for that person, not what's best for you. So it's not uncommon for me. I mean, if I see someone, people not on medical aids, etc. So I've opened up my clinic now to run a sort of a government clinic here as well. Medicine is not about money. Medicine's about service and looking after people, and that's what we want. Absolutely across the board. Very important.
And that's what you've been known for. And we will discuss the Helen Joseph resignation right after our 12 o'clock ad break. At the same time, just for something for you to think about as well, as I'd like you to extend on this particular answer, your view or your experience during apartheid and post-apartheid as a medical practitioner, and of course specializing as a surgeon in breast cancer. When we come back after this break, we continue our profile interview with Professor Carol and Benn.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
Online schooling? Why not? Kurtuba Online Academy is the leading global online Islamic school from grade R to matric, offering South African caps and international syllabus. And it doesn't stop there. We also offer online madrasa for every grade. For more information, visit www.kurtubaonline.co.za. Kurtuba Online Academy, the leading global online Islamic school.
Thousands of Syrian, Palestinian refugees and Lebanese children do not have access to education. Amman means safety and is a school that provides formal education from kindergarten to grade 9. Africa Muslims Agency aims to provide 650 children with education that will change the trajectory of their lives and their families' lives. Fulfill your intention by fulfilling their dreams. Donate 16,000 Rand per child or any amount. Go to africamuslimsagency.co.za or call us on 011-834-8685. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Over 33 million people have been affected by the devastating floods in Pakistan. Homes have been destroyed, crops have been swept away, and roads have been damaged. Families are mourning their loved ones while trying to survive these horrific conditions. Penny Appeal is on the ground now, delivering food, shelter, medical supplies, and water to those in need. You can help save a life by donating today. Visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Devastating floods in Pakistan have washed away villages, claimed the lives of more than 1,000 people, damaged nearly 1 million homes, and left over 33 million people in desperate need of help. As the catastrophe unfolds, Islamic Relief is on the ground, reaching people with life-saving aid. Our team are working tirelessly to deliver food and shelter. Your support is urgently needed now to help save more lives. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Give charity without delay, for it stands in the way of calamities. For child-headed households in Bloemendal in the Eastern Cape, the daily diet consists of white bread and a carton of cheap juice or sugar water, known locally as the poppy water diet. Make a difference to that one child or family. The Al-Fida Foundation has over the past 13 years worked on the ground and gathered the largest database in the Eastern Cape region of Muslim Zakah recipients. Phone our offices at 041 484 1288 or visit our website at www.alfida.co.za. The Al-Fida Foundation, your social investment partner in the Eastern Cape.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
We're back with our very special guest, Professor Carol Benn. Before the break, I was asking Professor Benn on transitioning and what her experience has been like in transitioning from the apartheid era to post-apartheid as a medical practitioner. Dr. Carol, are you back with us? I can't hear you. I think you muted your mic.
Okay, there
you go. Right, great.
So I was a non-rotating registrar at Chris Hani Barra. My interest was really, in fact, I was collecting the trauma data around the basically around the towards that end of apartheid when we were seeing so much violence. In fact, I was the only doctor when I was a student. I was in the rifles in Alex, and I was the doctor on call when they had that terrible, they brought in the shooting inside the clinic, and we had all the violence. So I was collecting out all that data to work out what was happening with the gunshots and the trauma. And I remember once being on call, and there was a guy who'd come in from Mozambique, and he had a hand grenade on him. And in fact, I presented a lot of this data all over the world, in Australia, all the gunshot chests, etc. So I never expected. I set up the helicopter service in Pretoria under Professor Boffard. I was doing a lot of work, and I love my patients. I remember I used to have these guys who would take my tiny little car in, and they used to run besides my car, so you almost couldn't see this little person coming into Barra. It was a time of camaraderie and also a time of great sadness. Obviously a lot of trauma in the hostels, but I lost a colleague who was a doctor, who was actually a German exchange student, who was shot and killed. But it was a time where people understood the concept of working together. What happened after that is I landed up involved in breast cancer purely because I didn't have any education in it, and that exposed me to a whole different world. So it's an important concept because we start our career, or we start our life thinking that we're going to go in one direction or another direction, but actually what happens is life is flux. You can move in different directions all the time, and you need to be able to do that. So you might be at school saying you're going to go into medicine, and I love the youngsters who say, oh, they're going to be a neurosurgeon and this. Just get in if it's what you want to do. And when I teach the medical students, I always say there's a place for everyone in medicine. You might start with this mental picture in your head that you're going to be a surgeon, but you might find that the smell of blood or something doesn't fit right with you. So be open-minded. There's not a better or a worse. You're going to find your space, and mentorship for me is critical with youngsters. I mentor lots of youngsters, be they school leaving, or I'm particularly concerned about the 18 to 25-year-old age group, where I think you have a very structured school environment and not such a structured after, and if they don't get into what they want to do. And it's not about university. So like you heard me say about a hashtag from a university point of view. So I do think that people, South African citizens, should have a significant decreased cost on what they're paying, but it should also only be for a certain period of time. So you can't stay on for 10, 15, 20 years not passing. You basically need to have a certain amount of time with mentorship, and then you pay back. So you work in a government-based environment where you are paying for the subsidies of your varsity fees. But I don't think that everything is about varsity. Technicons, understanding electricians, trade, etc., equally important. And we've got to stop putting people with degrees on pedestals. Each single person has a role to play in this wonderful world. And I love about your religion is this concept of what you do here for the next life. These are important concepts that people misunderstand. It's not about how many clothes, cars, etc. you drive, or your fame or your fortune. It's are you being a good person, and are you helping other people? that for
Right.
me is important.
Right. So I think your thinking was shaped during your years of being a registrar, and
Yeah.
then moving forward into post-apartheid.
Yes.
And the challenges are different now, but
Right.
you're also guided by that particular consciousness that
Yes.
you learned and adopted at that time.
Yes.
If it's part of you, it's just going to continue with you.
Yeah.
However, do you find that in terms of standard, in terms of service delivery, the healthcare sector in this country, anyway, we can criticize it from here to heaven, but again, it comes back to your experience personally. What has it been like?
So I think that life is about challenges, and there are always going to be different types of challenges. So the challenges we had 20 or 30 years ago, we've got different challenges now. So I'm saddened often by the number of young colleagues that I see who've left the country. And I know this just comes off me resigning after almost 35 years in government and 17 at Helen Joseph. So, but I am dedicated to this country. I think what you have to realize is that there are always challenges. The grass is only greener because someone weed on it, or it's not because that it's necessarily better. So I did a task force in the UK. There are problems everywhere, so you need to accept your challenges and your problems. So then you might ask me, well, then why did I resign from Helen Joseph? If your problems, if you can't solve your problems, or you are not fitting the shoe, is the analogy I've often used, of the institution. So if you are at a school and the school says wear a uniform and you're like, no, I'm not going to wear a uniform, then maybe that's not the school for you. Okay. So for me, looking at people and not being able to help them and making a plan so that I could help them was great. But getting into trouble for that was like, all of a sudden I realized I'm preaching one thing and I'm doing another. So I'm a bit of an ant. I work hard and I keep on going over and around all the little obstacles and put my head down and my little feelers out and just go one day, managing to do what I love to do, which is look after people from a breast health. But I suddenly realized, not am I only not achieving, but I'm also telling my patients to go through this, and I am not prepared to actually say, hold on a minute, what am I doing? If I'm not being able to, if I'm being harassed by setting up or trying to fix systems, then actually maybe I'm a step outside of the system where I'm not really fitting, and come up with different ways of solving the problem. So yes, there are problems, there are challenges. There are challenges, be it equipment challenges, be it water, be it theatre temperatures, but you would expect that your management to support you solve those challenges, not get into trouble or not support you for finding ways around those challenges. So when that happens for me, then you have to turn around and say, hold on a minute. This is no longer a relationship where the communication or the working environment is conducive to helping. And big things, there were big red lights for me, such as when patients were being harassed or turned away with cancer. So if you run a specialist unit and somebody is in Limpopo and they find out about it and they are prepared to catch 3 taxis and come to you, and as long as you are not decreasing someone else's opportunity to have treatment, for me, they have a right to get that treatment. This is not apartheid pass laws, this is healthcare. This is young people who want breast saving operations. These are people who are desperate. And I often, one of my worst words around cancer is this word of ignorance. People are ignorant about what's going on in their body. I really don't like the word ignorant. I don't think anyone's ignorant. You may not have information, or you may, if you've got a lump in the breast or pain on your head or something in your shoe. The problem comes in is why you're not accessing the healthcare service, because it's a hostile environment and people are turned around and turned away, and and then you become despondent, or the little money you have to catch 3 taxis and go somewhere and told there's no
Yeah.
clinic today is
Mm.
those are the issues. So there are much better ways, and watch the space, because we have to. So I'm proud of this country. I want to make a difference, as do many of us, and I think sometimes we have to step outside the box to do it.
It must have been a very difficult decision to make, having set it up from your heart, really. You know, it wasn't just a
Absolutely.
project.
Yeah.
So that must have been very difficult.
Heartbreaking. And I mean, I still can wake up in the middle of the night and say, have I done the right thing? Have I done the right thing? Should I not have just kept on staying in it? But my heart tells me, and my patience tells me, absolutely yes, because we have to come up with a better way to look after people.
Mm-hmm. Now, your resignation has fueled concerns about the loss of expertise in the public health sector amid existing pressures on cancer services in Gauteng.
Yes.
I know you quickly set up something else, so fortunately people still have access, but still we have this huge gap in the system itself.
So I think that I'm just one person. It's a big system, and the system will continue, but we need to make sure the system's better. There are amazing people in the healthcare system, be it my administrative people who I worked with at Head and Joseph, to porters, to everything, to things like Prof. Giorgio Demetrio at Charlotte, who's running an amazing thing. And sorting out the oncology there. But then there are also problems such as radiation and what's happening there, delays with the machines and that type of thing. So those have to be addressed, and we need to find ways to fix them. I mean, we have so many radiation machines in private. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. You could solve and sort out all the backlogs if they came up with another solution in terms of managing patients, because people die if they don't have radiation.
Right. Well, that's, I think, very heartbreaking, and that's, I think, it's your sore point, is absolutely your sore point, because it's accessible yet not.
Absolutely.
And you as a medical professional know that in your specialty. Patients don't know that, or they do know, but they just swallow and accept the fact that they're not going to be able to afford it, and this is it. I just have to wait. That is tragic in terms of, like you said.
Absolutely, it's absolutely tragic. It's tragic that we have opportunity to improve things, and I think that's where, as a public and a media, we must ensure that things get better, because these are problems that affect people's lives.
Absolutely. How do we do that, Carol? I know you and I are trying today, but
So
is it a, yeah?
It is absolutely solvable. There are many amazing doctors who are happy to help. For example, I've had hospital groups say to me, for every 5 patients that you do in private here, we will do a government patient pro deo. I have had anesthetists often who said we will help out and do a patient no charge. They are amazing doctors, and there are amazing people who want to get the system better. So what we really need is we need to put our heads together. Maybe at some stage what we should do is have a meeting at some venue where everyone says this is what we can bring to the party, and these are ways that we can come up. South Africans are very clever people, they're innovative people, and they're caring people, and they love their country dairy, and I'm talking across all races, ethnic groups, religious groups, etc. We want to make things better, and this is not about picking fault at government, etc. I often say government systems are a bit like Gullivers. It's like, how do you get the giant to stand? There are so many small and minor problems that each little bit is holding the giant down. So collectively as a whole, we need to unclip all the little strings in this so that the giant can stand, and we can have better and more equitable healthcare for all.
Amen to that.
Amen.
What have you learned from your patients? Because, like you said, doctor is just there to serve. What have you learned?
What have I learned? Oh, I learned something every day, both from my patients, from my students. I had a young doctor contact in with me last night. He absolutely warmed my heart. You know, I think you have to learn from people every day. What I learned from my patients is their tenacity. My work is such a humbling job. It is hard to go through cancer treatment. I've mentioned the line, the awareness, and the leopard, the access, but treatment is a buffalo. It's mean and ugly and hard. And these patients go through treatment. They show strength. They show commitment. The families of patients. I just think people together as a collective really, really know how to go through hardship. And that for me, I always say, my patients go through so much. Really, this is small for me. It might be hugely stressful for me, but it is way more stressful for people going through their cancer diagnosis. So I learn from them. I learn from my students all the time. What clever, inquiring young minds we have, what amazing youngsters we have in this country. And that is really, really important. So I think if you're not learning, then that is a concern for me. And I always say there's no such thing as a stupid question. Ask, because you start looking at things from different angles and different directions. And that is really important.
Great. How does one encourage a patient for treatment? Because I think the bigger fear for most patients is the treatment itself.
So I think what is important from encouraging people is we need to be honest, but we need to help navigate them through a system. And this is often done by people who've been through the system, who have been through cancer treatment, and who are trained navigators. So you get two types of people. You get those who are like, oh my golly, this is a disaster, and my aunt had that, and so died. It's kind of like the Eeyores, the people who are negative, and then the people who can say, listen, not easy, but we can manage this together. Can I bring some food? In fact, one of my Muslim ladies wrote an amazing book. I'm trying to see if I can see it here in my cupboard next to me while we're talking about prayer and faith around treatment journeys. So you need to choose your, what I call your ghost busting team, your team around you carefully, families, friends, doctors and colleagues. You need to understand that it is like an extreme event. It's difficult to get through, but you can make it, particularly if you have a sensible team who are positive and honest and not people who are naysayers. Like the same like you see in the country. Yeah.
Right. So it's and that's where I think your role right from the onset is very, very important in terms of the encouragement, like we said, or even just to give the full picture honestly, and then say it's not the end of the world, so to speak.
Yes,
it's difficult to say, but that's how they feel.
I heard you hesitate on that, because I feel the same thing, because you do feel, oops, could this be? And it is cancer, so what if I die? And I always say to each person, take each day one day at a time. It's all we've got, one step at a time. Watch what comes out of your mouth, be honest, give forward, and it's one day for everybody.
That's right. That's right. Whether you have the disease or not.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So in 2002, you founded your Breast Health Foundation. Tell us about it.
So the reason why it started is around October, there were so many talks and everything. And I suddenly realized you have 3 talks on one day, and this group is doing that, and another group. Why? And it's not dissimilar to what I want to do now. It's why don't we bring everyone together and coordinate it, so you can still have ownership of your projects or your awareness, be it Estee Lauder, or be it Discovery, or be it
Pink Drive.
I give talks, yes, Pink Drive in Lenasia, whatever. So people come together, then each person understands they're working more as a collective whole rather than everyone pulling apart and trying to do little bits. So there are many ways people can make a difference in their own way. So whether you have a small breakfast, or you have a do and everyone wears a pink ribbon or a pink scarf or pink head, so whatever you do, there are ways that you can say to people, let's be aware, and how do we access services. So that was the concept behind it. So the foundation is about awareness and navigating people through the healthcare system. And there are many different, you mentioned Pink Drive, that there are many different groups and NGOs. And the important thing is that each NGO takes a aspect and deals with it. So for example, there are NGOs that deal with survivorship and exercise and life after cancer. There are NGOs that deal with advocacy. There are NGOs that deal with awareness and access. So that's important. So we're working as a collective whole.
And that, of course, continues. So is your work in the public sector going to continue?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Never will stop. That's my love. That's
right.
Yeah.
And what's the plan?
So what's the plan? Okay, there are lots and lots of plans afoot. Okay, it's working out how we can bring, and I don't like the word government and private. I think I always say when people have a healthcare crisis, it's like being on an airplane. Oh, it always makes you nervous. I've got to fly tomorrow. But you want safe takeoff, safe landing, and a safe journey. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in first class or in the last seat in economy. And that's really what we want. So it's how to pop those different economy together so that people get equitable and safe care in an environment that offers holistic, patient-centered cancer medicine. And we're making it happen. So I'm thrilled.
Well, that's just amazing, because I think everyone who knows you and your passion for serving would be very happy that, although the news came out that you've resigned from Helen Joseph, and that was a huge contribution you were making there to the general public, and to have lost that would have been very, very sad for cancer care in Gauteng. So I also read that you're making it easier for people on a lower medical aid scheme, and not having huge co-payments. Now that's a huge step, Carol, because you're paying and yet it's not accessible for a lot of people.
So that's a big thing for me. So there's a lot wrong on people who don't have access to funding, and then there's a lot wrong on people who are sitting with low schemes and have massive co-payments, be it hospital, doctor, other stuff as well. So that we've got to sort out, and we've got to move it together. And I do think there are lots of doctors who'd happily to be salaried in, and we can sort out a more equitable way of looking after patients.
Well, you have the resources, you have the passion, you have the name as well. And I think, like you highlighted, that there's so many like-minded people in your field. And that's really important, because you cannot do it alone. And this is what's standing out. And I think it's very heartwarming to know that we have people like yourself in the industry, especially in the healthcare industry, that are offering whatever they can. And that goes back to the humanity aspect of your professions. Yeah. So in terms of, where to from here, you already have a plan. Where to from here? Yes. You've been in practice for 30 years now and beyond. And you've given so much already, and you still have the energy, because I know you're a self-proclaimed hyperactive person. So where are we channeling all of that energy now?
To setting up a better, more equitable healthcare system, similar to an NHI, to make sure that all people can have access to care, fellowship training for specialists, so that we can teach people. I'm busy with communication workshops for doctors in terms of how to talk to patients. I've got 2 books I've finished in the pipeline, you know what? It's about being busy, it's about helping out, and it's about making sure we go to bed each night tired, thinking we can wake up, please God, and try and do it better the next day. So, and it's about a team. Our strength is in the team, is in all of us together, making sure that we look after people.
So you have, as you've mentioned, a healthy support structure at home.
Yep.
And in your professional environment as well, you have that, and that's family on the other hand too.
Absolutely.
And
I
then
have
you
an
grow
amazing teams. I have every single person in the team. And I think for me, and I had an amazing team also at Hidden Joseph. I just think it was the management team that needed a bit of work. But the team is about realizing that each person is equal. It's not about the professor, the this, the that. You all come with your strengths and your weaknesses, and you pull together. And I'm lucky I have that at home. I have that at work. What more can anyone ask for?
Right. You've probably answered this question already, but what motivates you?
What motivates me? Absolutely, no question, my patients. I look at them and I go, how can I not do my absolute best to make sure that they are safe, and that when they look at their children, their partners, their families, they can go to bed knowing, you know what? There we go. I'm safe. And that for me is important.
Excellent. I'm so very glad you've chosen to stay in South Africa.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going anywhere. Okay.
That's fantastic. You've given us hope. You've given us reason to believe in the fact that no matter what your obstacles are, you move forward, you go ahead, as long as you stay grounded, despite being, of course, the professor that you are and the contributions you've made to the medical profession. You still carry a very humble cap. And that, I think, is the most admirable thing for me this morning, and what I've drawn from this discussion that we've had. So you are an inspiration, and thank you very much for being there for your patients, and for educating us in this short time.
And one day at a time, inshallah. Okay.
Amin, as we say. Thank you very much, Professor Carol Benn. Hope to catch up with you soon on a personal level.
Okay.
I'd love to meet you in person. I know how busy you are, but it'll be great, and I'm sure many others would, share the sentiments. But of course, I know you have just so much that you can give, and you just keep giving. So thank you once again for your generosity.
Pleasure. You take care now. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Bye. Bye. All right. So that was Professor Carol Ann Benn. As we've already mentioned, she is a medical profession, and of course in breast care and surgery. After the break, we speak to Said Jamaluddin Miri.